You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson and the fact that his contract is now flashing in bright, massive red, yellow, you pick your color of lights flashing in your face right now as the worst contract in sports history and ungodliest, one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. I believe the New York Post had it at number 2 of the worst trades in NFL history, and that was before he got hurt. That was before he got knocked out for the season. I mean, who knows what they would say now if it actually came out. There's no telling where it would be. Now, prior to the season, Mike Sandow of The Athletic does a very, very good NFL quarterback ranking system. And he polls the top, basically 50 NFL coaches and executives. How do you feel about these quarterbacks? And then he takes that data and he ranks the quarterbacks. Well, before the season, he had Deshaun Watson in his tiered system as the 11th best quarterback in the league. Well, holy smokes, it hadn't went that way. It hadn't went that way at all. This is PFF. He's at number 24. He's just ahead of Sam Howell and Joshua Dobbs. But you know what those two guys have in common? They're not making very much money at all. You know who else is not making any money? Joe Flacco, who the Browns finally added to the 53-man roster. I mean, they were playing a dangerous game doing the active practice squad. And after that victory last week, we know a lot of Cleveland Browns fans started calling for Joe Flacco over Deshaun Watson. Not even the injury involved, just they'd had enough. Let's just start Joe Flacco and see what happens, and maybe we keep Flacco next year. I mean, it's pretty crazy the route this is taken. So this should probably be the part that scares Cleveland Browns fans the most. When Mike Sandow went back to revisit his quarterback tiered system, he started reaching out for feedback. And he got this back right here. You see this headline. NFL Insider cast doubt on Browns Deshaun Watson's NFL future. I think he's done. He's got a fully guaranteed contract, injury and all, folks. It's a nightmare. In July, The Athletic's Mike Sandow canvassed a group of 50 NFL coaches and execs to rank the league's quarterbacks. Watson came in at 11th and in the second tier, which is reserved for a quarterback, quote, that can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. With 14 weeks in the books, Sandow followed up to see where things stand. And one voter wasn't flattering about the Browns' franchise cornerstone. So this was either an executive or a coach that said this in the NFL. Quote, I think he's done, they said. He always has been a guy who holds the ball. He always pressured himself. They need to call the game with him like they need to call the game without him. So basically, he hasn't opened you up, Deshaun Watson, to be able to do anything you haven't been able to do with Joe Flacco, who's 38 years old and hasn't been a consistent starter in 5 years? That's not a great look. The heavy screen game, heavy run game, 12 personnel, quarterback keepers. In November, the Browns shut Watson down for the season in order to undergo shoulder surgery. 2 years into a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract. He had logged just 12 appearances in those games, looked little like the passer that made 3 straight Pro Bowls with the Texans. The 28-year-old has thrown for 2,217 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 picks since his trade to Cleveland. His 184.8 passing yards and 81.7 passer rating are well below his Houston equivalents. My God, nearly 100 yards below. 269.2 and more than 20 points lower than his passer rating with Houston. Some feel the source cited was being far too premature, but the examinations of Watson's long-term future have already begun. It's less about whether he'll continue to be a member of the Browns because they have no real path to move on in the foreseeable future. Even if Cleveland were to cut him in 2026, the final year of a contract, it would mean putting either $73 million or $64 million in dead money on the books for that year. The bigger question is, what kind of player will Watson be when he returns? If he has permanently gone backwards from his Texans peak, it will have serious consequences for the Browns. One could possibly say the Browns might ought to win this whole thing this year. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, this may be the year to do it because of Joe Flacco. And it's talking, this is his numbers right here, 2022, 2023. And there is a part of this article, and this is the headline. Joe Flacco's performance raises questions about the value of Watson's record-breaking contract. And why is it raising questions? This is why. Following the devastating news that Watson would not return to the playing field for the remainder of the season, Cleveland's quarterback room, lacking the veteran presence needed to finish their playoff push, the Browns signed the former Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco to a one-year $370,800 contract versus $64 million. God, the Browns look terrible over this contract. Flacco made his first start for the Browns in Week 13, throwing for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception. Week 14, his second start, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. This is his stats. 565 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Now, the part that's really got a lot of people concerned, in 2 games with the Browns, Joe Flacco is just 2 touchdowns shy of matching Deshaun Watson's 7 in each of his seasons with the Cleveland Browns. Flacco's 565 passing yards are also more than halfway to the passing yards from each of Watson's seasons with the Browns. I mean, that's scary. In 2 games. 2 games. He has thrown for more than half of the passing yards of Deshaun Watson. It's a bad situation that the Browns are in right now. Now, look, we've talked about this, and I've joked about the fact that if I'm sort of rooting for the Browns, okay? I'm rooting for the Browns because I would love to see Joe Flacco, and I've never even been that big of a Joe Flacco guy, but there's something about the 38-year-old sauntering out on the field like the old veteran. He's still got a cannon, a sniper rifle on that shoulder of his. I'm watching him throwing frozen ropes the other day to guys out on the field, and there's something about the idea that the former Super Bowl MVP could go out and lead a team that needs a Super Bowl victory really badly, and Cleveland Browns fans know you do. I said if my Niners get eliminated, I'm pulling for Joe Flacco and the Browns to win it all. I hope they go out and win it all. And don't look now, but the Chiefs are down, folks. The Bills are down, folks. This is the year. This is the year. With this roster, this is the year for the Browns. They can catch the Chiefs before they reload in the offseason with some wide receivers. The Bills, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, all that drama, they're down, may not even make the playoffs. This is it. Next year, Aaron Rodgers back for the Jets. This is the year. And I said the poetic justice of the idea that the Browns could win the Super Bowl with old graybeard Joe Flacco at under $400,000 while their $230 million contract quarterback that's got a massage therapy issue disorder, I mean, let's just keep it real, is riding the pine because of his shoulder. I mean, it would be one of the greatest stories ever, one of the strangest, most ironic stories ever. But the most frightening part about this is your 38-year-old journeyman quarterback is performing as well, if not better, than Deshaun Watson. That should scare the crap out of every Browns fan that there is, knowing you've got 2026 to get through with Deshaun Watson to get out of this contract. And you've got NFL insiders, executives, and or a coach saying they believe Watson is done as the quarterback that he ever was. He'll never be back there again. And I know there's a lot of people out there saying that don't want to put their name on it. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. That it is over with Deshaun Watson. It's going to be interesting. The Browns are fascinating. And Kevin Stefanski, I kind of gave him a hard time. I said this the other day. He may be the coach of the year. He may be. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.